Så där, då är klockan till och med någon minut över 10 och välkomna hit idag till dagens webbinar som man kan väl säga är väl vårt andra webbinar kring Azure HCI, står för Hyperconverged-Infrastruktur, är en perfekt bryggprodukt till er som tittar på att göra en molnresa för resurser och ha som en produkt att hantera både on-premise resurser och även delvisa molnresurser. Jag heter Alexander Pontikis och jag är nordisk produktchef och techdata för Microsofts commercial-produkter. Och jag tänkte inte orda mer än så just idag, utan jag tänkte faktiskt lämna över till Lars Hegnelt på Microsoft som är commercial trainer och serveransvarig. Kommer hålla detta på engelska. Känner er fria att ställa frågor i chatten och så kommer vi ta dem efter webbinariet. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Lars.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the introduction, Alexander, and welcome to this this webinar. We're going to look into Azure Stack HCI, both as an enabled HCI through Windows Server 2019 data center, but also as the new Azure Stack HCI Cloud OS. Yeah, so as said, today we're going to go through the different opportunities we have with Azure Stack HCI. As most of you probably know, we introduced a new Azure Stack HCI Cloud OS in beginning of December in 2020. What we're going to look at today is basically to see the differences between the two and the use case scenarios and where we're going to position, how we're going to position this through different customers, and of course the intention from Microsoft behind moving towards a cloud OS, but still keeping the perpetual license as an HCI driver. So what is really, really important to understand is that we have a very big demand for hyperconverged infrastructure. So if we're looking at the conversations we have with new customers, new and existing customers, basically for 54% of them are expecting to deploying some kind of hyperconverged infrastructure within the next year's time. So that means that almost half of our conversations in regards to server infrastructure will be in regards to hyperconverged infrastructure. And of course, we have different solutions in the market with competitors towards Microsoft. So it's important for Microsoft to position ourselves in that scenario. So we have also seen a 57% growth in the hyperconverged infrastructure investments on a year-over-year basis. And if we look at the number of nodes we have that needs modernization within the next 2 or 3 years, we're talking millions worldwide. And of course, this is a big focus area from Microsoft going forth. And it's also like when some of you might have heard the keynote speak from Satya Nadella, back at Microsoft Inspire in 2020, where he talked about the new Azure Stack HCI, delivering that hyperconverged infrastructure software as a native Azure service. And that is what we're going to look into today. So the Azure Stack HCI joins our Azure family with Azure Stack Edge, and Azure Stack Hub. And if we look at it, a bit overview on this, we can see what we had previously, which was the Azure Stack HCI software-defined storage spaces direct as part of the Windows Server 2019 data center solution. We're still going to have that, but now we also have the new Azure Stack HCI as a cloud OS. We also call it 20H2. But going forth in this webinar, I'm going to talk about the enabled HCI as being the perpetual license with Windows Server 2019 data center license, and the Azure Stack HCI as being the new cloud OS. So from Microsoft point of view, we're of course looking at, you keep hearing those buzzwords from Microsoft being modernization and transformation. So when we're looking at transforming and modernizing our end customers' current infrastructure. We're of course talking about shifting from legacy operating systems, going back from Windows Server 2008, which is end of support, to the new Windows Server 2019, and in the fall we're going to have Windows Server VNext coming up. So that's of course really important for us to keep our customers updated and making sure that they benefit from all the evolutions we have in our latest versions of Windows Server. But we're also talking about transforming the business and then moving customers towards more complex server environments. We're looking at hyperconverged infrastructure. We're looking at, in this case, of course, like cloud native solutions. So that is a huge, that is a primary focus from Microsoft going forth. If we look at what Microsoft Azure gives our customers, we have Microsoft Azure as a public cloud service with the Azure portal, including Azure security services and Azure backup, Azure site recovery, and we also have the Azure Stack as a hyperconverged solution, and we have now going forth the Azure Stack HCI looking at. So we basically have a new branch on the Azure portal. So what is new in this new Azure Stack HCI? Well, basically, what we're seeing is we have built a solution that could run from the small and medium business all the way up to the enterprise server environments, easily scalable and fully supported solutions. We have, which we see in the enterprise class hyperconverged infrastructure, it's an Azure hybrid by design, and by Azure hybrid design because it's built for this and designed for hybrid solutions. It is an Azure service, and we should think of it as an Azure service, which connects seamlessly to all the hybrid services we have. So talked about before with Azure Security Center, Azure Backup, Azure Site Recovery. The new solution will be provided by all our CSP partners. So basically, it's going to be running on validated nodes. It's going to be delivered as an integrated system with the Azure Stack HCI being pre-installed and being activated by our CSP partners. So that is basically the sales motion as we see it, right? There are going to be some differences in the Enable HCI and in the Azure Stack HCI. And we have look at it here as a Windows Server, where we of course have the Hyper-V features in both Windows Server and Azure Stack HCI. But going forth, we're going to have only stretch clustering within the Azure Stack HCI. And another key element in this is that we're going to have the extended security updates for all our existing customers running legacy Windows Server 2008 and R2 workloads. So all the customers we have that are running Windows Server 2008 are going to have a free extension, 2-year extension when purchasing Azure Stack HCI, which is really important because we have more than 40% of our end customers still running the Windows Server 2008 now that even though it's been out of support for about a year's time now. And another key element in this, and I'm going to come back to this later on, is that the virtualization part, as in most other hyperconverged infrastructures, the virtualization part will be run by a perpetual license. So in the Azure Stack HCI, you have the host OS licensed, and then you're going to need the guest licenses to run your virtualization platforms. and the new Azure Stack HCI, you can run either Microsoft virtualization or Linux virtualization. So for that, you need the Windows Server legacy perpetual license. In the capabilities in the new Azure Stack HCI, as I was looking into, so of course we have the native integration with all the cloud services. We also have the built-in stretch cluster disaster recovery solution. We also have, which is really important for some of our customers, the Azure Kubernetes services. And as I said before, we have the free extended security updates for Windows Server 2008 for a 2-year running. If we look at the price solution for the Azure Stack HCI, well, it is a core subscription, so there are no upfront payments. It's a 30-day free trial, and then you pay per core with a minimum buy-in of 1 core. But we know that it's going to be a minimum of 2 cores, and it's going to be a $10 per core per month. Yes, and as I said, for the guest OS running the virtualization, customers can either choose to run Linux or Microsoft virtualization. All this is managed through our Windows Admin Center or System Center, as we also will be with the enabled HCI Windows Server 2019 solution. Looking at some of the integrated system solutions that we have from our hardware vendors, we can see it ranges from 4 cores up to 24 cores in these scenarios. And so there are all types of solutions that our end customers can tap into. We have the 8-core solution from Lenovo, 16-core from Dell, and it's going to be licensed, as I said, per core per month at $10. And of course, they were going to need to buy an additional license, the guest OS for the virtualization, as we see here in an overview. So basically, this is just, as most of you would know, the Hyperconverged like overview model, where we have the validated partner hardware, we have the Hyper-V, the software-defined networking and software-defined storage, all managed by the Windows Admin Center. So this can be run both with the Windows Server 2019 Enable HCI, where you can run the Windows Admin Center either locally or through Azure, the Azure portal. But this is also, when you look into the new Azure Stack HCI, you're going to have to run this through the Azure portal, as well as you can do that locally. But Azure Stack HCI is a cloud OS, which means that the end customer will need to have a connectivity to the cloud at least once a month, whereas the Windows Server 2019 can run totally disattached from the cloud, right? So it can run totally locally. So here we have basically the 2 solutions, and trying to enlighten as well what the differences is and what you get with one solution as to what you get from the other solution. So with the Azure Stack HCI, you get the stretch clustering, you get the Azure Kubernetes services. It is a subscription model, and you have the free extended updates Windows Server 2008. With Windows Server 2019, you have the OEM lifecycle management, and you have the traditional licensing model. And of course, as I said before, it runs everywhere. So if we look at the traditional model with the Windows Server 2019 editions, we're going to have only the data center edition running the hyperconverged infrastructure. So if the end customer choose to run enabled HCI, they will choose that because it can run, as we saw before, in any kind of environment. They don't have to attach, be online to run this. They can run it locally. And of course, this licenses the whole hyperconverged infrastructure. So basically, it also licenses the VMs. Whereas if we look at the Azure Stack HCI model, we will see it here. So basically, we're going to have the Azure Stack HCI as the host license, and again have a guest license running the virtualization workload. So in this case, the end customer can choose to run standard. They would not have to purchase a data center license. This would be as CME4, you can see here, based on the amount of virtual machines they are going to run in that virtualization. So it's of course a matter of price point and matter of how many virtual machines they're going to run. If we have a look at the complete overview of the two types of solutions. So basically we can see that the solutions are based on validated nodes from our hardware vendors. So all the solutions are integrated systems when delivered to end customers. Running on validated nodes, they have a host layer with either with the host OS either being the perpetual license from 2019 or the cloud OS from Azure Stack HCI. In this, it's also included the whole HCI solution with Hyper-V, software-defined networking, software-defined storage. Then when we come to the virtual machine layer, we look at it and we can see that in the Windows Server 2019, this is already licensed as part of the data center solution with unlimited VMs running. When we are talking about new Azure Stack HCI, the end customer has two opportunities. They can either run this as a Microsoft workload or Linux workload. And with a Microsoft workload, they would have to purchase a perpetual license in Windows Server 2019, either a standard edition or a data center edition, depending on the amount of virtual machines they are going to run. Then we have the management layer. And for both, they are going to be managed either by Windows Admin Center or System Center. Both have, with the Azure Stack HCI Cloud OS, they of course already are part of the Azure portal and having full tap into all the Azure services, site recovery, backup, update, management, etc. With the Enable HCI, they have an opportunity to connect and to Azure services as well. So basically, the primary differences in these are stretch clustering and the Kubernetes containers, Kubernetes services on that. So which solution should you choose to run? Should you either choose Windows Server 2019 Enable HCI or Azure Stack HCI OS? Well, it of course depends on what type of solution you are choosing, you want to run. So if you want to run, of course, connected and disconnected from Azure, from the cloud, then of course you need to have Windows Server 2019. You need to run an Azure Stack. You need a stable connectivity, and you need at least a monthly connection to run the updates. With the Azure Stack HCI OS, we have a monthly update, and we have a semi-yearly and yearly feature update. But of course, this is, as being connected directly to Azure, it's going to be updated constantly. This is not the case for the Windows Server 2019. All new features will land with the Azure Stack HCI and not with Windows Server 2019. Of course, we'll keep supporting the Windows Server 2019 for the next foreseeable future, many years going forth. We have like a 5-year plan and then an extended 5-year support for that as well. So at least next 10 years going forth. But all the new features will land with Azure Stack HCI. And again, this is the key differences. And this is what we want to make sure that our end customers understand and know when they choose the different type solutions. So as to recap on this quickly and looking at it from overview, we can see we have going forth 2 different types of solutions. We're going to have the perpetual license with Microsoft Windows Server 2019 Enable HCI, and we're going to have of course the Azure Stack HCI Cloud OS. So customers are basically choosing between a perpetual license or Cloud OS, and the difference is going to be in the licensing part, where we have a $10 per core per month for running the Azure Stack HCI. Yes, so basically that concludes my presentation. And if there are any questions, I will answer them now.
Yes, we have one question, and it's about the amount of work it takes to move one application from on-premise to Azure, including network connectivity. I guess it kind of depends on what application, but could you give us?
Yeah, but so basically, to move a legacy application, it's fairly simple to the new Azure Stack HCI solution. Of course, as we talked about, when you're running it through Azure, you need a full connectivity, at least a monthly connectivity. When you're moving it, what you will need to do is install the new Azure Stack HCI, and then I think that the process would be to reinstall, but you have features within the Windows Admin Center where you basically can move all the legacy apps in one go. So it's fairly simple. I think we're going to have an opportunity to run at a later stage a demo version of the Windows Admin Center, and we're going to look into how we're going to move the legacy app. But it's fairly simple and automatic, and a part. It's a feature of the Azure Stack HCI OS that we're able to move these legacy apps.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds very promising. Just to summarize a little bit, and until more questions should arrive, we still have a few minutes. Some remarks. The market potential seems quite substantial, as we see 54% of at least the companies asked in that study you've shown are planning to invest in hyperconverged infrastructure.
I think that we look at it from an opportunity point of view. The aspect of the opportunity we have, I think that we're still going to see most of our end customers choosing to opt in for the enable HCI as a perpetual license running data center. I don't think that many customers right now are geared to move everything to the cloud. We also have, of course, many customers asking in regards to compliance for instance, GDPR. We know that Azure is basically you can say that we have heard at least that many of the data will be running in cloud with Azure will be moved towards US, and could actually have that like non-compliance for GDPR moving data outside of EU. But as we see now, we know now that both in Denmark and Sweden, Microsoft are building data centers so that we can keep all the critical data in a regional at a regional level. So make sure that we are following all the GDPR rules. So that is some of the things that could still be a blocker for customers to move towards Azure Stack HCI, and then so that's why I think that most customers would choose to run the enable HCI. The benefits right now of moving would be to have have all the Azure. The customers that are already running the workloads in Azure, they will find this very easy. For those who are not, they will still want to need to run it locally. And then their only benefit of moving towards Azure Stack HCI Cloud OS would be to run Kubernetes services, container services, and to run stretch clustering. And of course, to have that extended support on the Windows 2008. And if that is a motivation, if that is like an option for them, I think that we kind of, but it's going to be very specific customers that's going to run this. But going forth, we should see this perhaps as a same as we saw Office 365, Microsoft 365, that we're starting to run these move these workloads towards a cloud, hypercloud environment. And then going forth, all these updates, all the new features, not the updates, sorry, but all the new features will land in in Azure Stack HCI in the Cloud OS. So going forward, we will see more and more features that are being moving towards that, and that of course will also drive the motivation for our end customers to choose Azure Stack HCI.
Should be it should be a smooth transition, then motivating end customers even further, which is great for partners to have and keep in their discussions. We're running a little bit over time. I just wanted, just out of curiosity, we saw a 57 increase in sales in these kind of solutions during the last period. I know this could be a hard question, but do you have any sort of feel or estimate how much the market do you think will grow in, let's say, the coming 12 or 24 months, let's say?
Yeah, I think the latest we saw was the latest predictions was seeing a forecast of growing with like year. This year would be about 65% growth. So that is a preliminary, but I think that we could go even further. So I think that this will be escalating, and this is the opportunity we need to push. And of course, Microsoft sees the new Azure Stack HCI OS also as the way that it's built the same way as like VxRail solutions, Nutanix solutions. So it will be more comparison. It'd be easy to compare an Azure Stack HCI OS solution with a VxRail solution and with a Nutanix solution, where you have a guest or a host OS and guest virtualization and operating system for the virtualization parts. So it's going to be very one-to-one, and it's going to be very much part of which type of hypervisor the customers need. So I think that going forward, we don't need to push this discussion, because the customers will come to us. Are they interested in running this? They will come to us and talk to us about this. Are they interested in running this as a solution? Then they will come to us. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think that will conclude it then. I think this has been very exciting. We have a very interesting kind of landscape going forward when it comes to these types of solutions. Växlar över till svenska. Jag vill tacka för alla som har varit här idag, alla partners. Jag hoppas ni har lärt er någonting. Det här webbinariet spelades också in, så det kommer finnas för framtida referens och kunna gå in på vår webbinariesida på TechDatas hemsida. Thank you, Lars, for joining this morning, and look forward to the next event.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.